My fiancée invited her ex to my birthday dinner. When he brought her flowers, she smirked, "You always had the better taste." I blew out my candles, made a wish, and left. The next day, she was panicking and begging me to undo what I did. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. Hey Reddit! This story's been sitting in my drafts for a while, and I'm finally ready to share it because it's too good to keep to myself. Fair warning, this gets messy, and absolutely worth every second. I, 28 male, have been running my own physical security consultancy for 5 years now. Started in my garage installing basic alarm systems, but we've grown into the go-to guys for high-end surveillance setups and access control systems. Think millionaires' mansions and corporate headquarters where they actually care about who walks through their doors. 2 years ago, I met Susie, 26 female, at some craft brewery opening. You know those events: overpriced drinks, networking vultures, and awkward small talk about hops. But she caught my attention immediately. Marketing executive at a tech company, sharp as hell, ambitious in that attractive way where you can tell she's going places. We clicked instantly, which doesn't happen often for me. Now let me introduce the crew that made this story legendary. Styles, my best friend since college. IT guy by day, stand-up comedian by night, and the king of zero-filter commentary. This dude had Susie's number from day one. He nicknamed her Princess PowerPoint because she'd literally create presentations for everything. Babe, I've prepared a slide deck on our weekend plans with cost-benefit analysis. Maya, my older sister, criminal defense attorney and certified bullshit detector. Maya's got this protective big sister thing where she can smell trouble on people before they even open their mouths. She took one look at Susie at our first family dinner and whispered, "This one's calculating. Watch your back." Buck, my 3-year-old golden retriever who's dumber than a box of rocks but loyal as they come. This dog once got his head stuck in a cereal box and just accepted his fate instead of trying to get free. I found him like that 20 minutes later, tail wagging, completely content with his cardboard helmet. Katia, mutual friend from college who works as a fitness trainer. Picture someone who could deadlift your car but still laughs at dad jokes. We'd always been friends, nothing more, but she becomes important later. Rachel, Susie's entitled younger sister who treats service workers like personal assistants and once demanded a manager at Starbucks because her latte foam wasn't Instagram-worthy. Everything wrong with Susie, amplified. From day one with Susie, I heard about Kyle, her ex. They'd dated for 3 years, broke up about a year before we met, because, according to her, he wasn't ready for the commitment she deserved. Translation: Guy dodged a bullet, and she never got over it. But here's what should have been my first red flag. Kyle's name came up constantly. Kyle got promoted. Kyle bought a Tesla. Kyle's mom was in the hospital. Kyle this. Kyle that. Kyle everything. Styles started keeping count during our double dates. His record? 23 Kyle mentions in one dinner. Dude, he told me afterward, at this point Kyle's more involved in your relationship than you are. Maya was more direct. She's using you as a placeholder until he comes back. Mark my words. I should have listened to both of them. 6 months into the relationship, things seemed to be progressing normally. We weren't living together, but we spent most nights at either my place or her downtown apartment. I'd bought my house 4 years earlier after landing some major corporate contracts. Nothing crazy fancy, but it's mine. It's on the outskirts where I actually have space to breathe, and it came with enough room for a proper home office and a yard for Buck to terrorize squirrels. Buck, by the way, loved Susie initially. This dog's a terrible judge of character. He once tried to befriend a raccoon that was clearly plotting his demise. But he'd get excited whenever she came over, bringing her his favorite tennis ball like she was the greatest thing since bacon treats. The first real warning sign came when Susie's company needed a security system upgrade. Since that's literally what I do for a living, I offered to help out. Professional courtesy, right? Wrong. Dead wrong. This woman turned a simple consultation into a 3-hour PowerPoint presentation about synergistic cross-promotional opportunities between our brands. She had slides with charts about my own business. I installed their system anyway. Solid work, fair price, everyone happy. But then Susie started helping with my marketing. She redesigned my entire website, added her email to client communications, and started signing her name on my invoices like we were business partners. When I asked what the hell she was doing, she said she was optimizing my brand presence for maximum market penetration. Maya's response when I told her, she's treating your business like a subsidiary she just acquired. Next thing you know, she'll want equity and a company car. Styles was more colorful. Bro, she's colonizing your life one PowerPoint at a time. But the real setup came when my birthday approached in October. Susie insisted on curating the perfect networking experience for my special day. Not throwing a party, curating a networking experience. For my birthday, she booked this pretentious restaurant downtown where they charge 40 bucks for 3 pieces of asparagus and call it deconstructed cuisine. The kind of place where the waiters have opinions about your wine choices and the portions could fit in a shot glass. The guest list made sense. My usual crew plus Maya, who'd driven down from Chicago because she wouldn't miss this disaster for anything. But the day before, Susie dropped her bomb. Oh, by the way, I invited Kyle too. I was reviewing security camera footage for a client when she said it. Had to replay the sentence in my head to make sure I heard right. Kyle? Your ex Kyle? Yes, Kyle. He's just a friend now, and honestly, he has amazing connections in the tech space. This could be transformative for your business development. She actually said transformative. About inviting her ex to my birthday dinner. Plus, she continued, Rachel's driving up from Springfield. She's been dying to meet everyone. Rachel, who lived 2 hours away and had shown zero interest in my existence for 2 years, suddenly couldn't wait to celebrate my birthday? I called Maya immediately. Let me understand this correctly, Maya said in her lawyer voice. She invited her ex-boyfriend to your birthday dinner and is marketing it as a business opportunity? That's about the size of it. And her sister, who treats you like furniture, is suddenly your biggest fan? Maya was quiet for a moment. Brother, this woman thinks you're an idiot. She's setting something up, and you're the only one who doesn't see it coming. I should have canceled right then. But I was curious to see exactly how far she'd push this insanity. You know what? Let's do it. Should be educational. Maya laughed. I'll be there with front row seats to this train wreck. The night of my birthday dinner, I knew something was off before we even sat down. Susie had been on her phone all day, texting and giggling in that way that seemed too intimate for casual conversation. The restaurant was exactly as pretentious as expected, the kind of place where they describe every dish like it's performance art, and the wine list requires a small business loan. We claimed our table for 10. Maya had insisted on coming, and I was grateful for the backup. And everyone started arriving. Styles showed up first, took one look at the menu, and whispered, Dude, they're charging 30 bucks for mac and cheese. I hope your business insurance covers public humiliation. Maya arrived looking like she was ready for trial. Sharp suit, no-nonsense expression, positioned where she could observe everything. Our other friends filtered in. My business partner Jared, Tom and his wife, 2 other couples we hung out with regularly. Everyone except Kyle and Rachel. But Susie kept checking her phone every 10 seconds like she was coordinating a military operation. 25 minutes past our reservation time, the show began. Kyle walked in carrying a bouquet of purple dahlias like he was the romantic lead in some cheesy movie. But here's what made it worse. He walked straight to Susie, completely ignoring the birthday boy, and presented the flowers like we were at his event. These are for you, beautiful. Happy spring. It was October. Late October in Chicago. There were literally frost warnings on the weather app, and this clown was talking about spring. Susie's reaction was the nail in the coffin. She didn't just accept the flowers. She lit up like Christmas morning. Purple dahlias! You remembered they're my absolute favorite. God, you always had the better taste. So sweet. Then she turned to the entire table and announced, Everyone, look what Kyle brought me. Isn't that incredibly thoughtful? The silence was deafening. Maya's pen stopped moving. Styles's mouth fell open. Our other friends were staring like they'd just witnessed a car accident in slow motion. Kyle finally acknowledged my existence with a casual nod. Happy birthday, man. Thanks for letting me crash the party. Then he sat down directly across from Susie like he'd planned the seating chart himself. Maya leaned over and whispered, Is this actually happening right now? Before I could answer, Rachel made her grand entrance. 15 minutes after Kyle, wearing enough perfume to fumigate a building, complaining about parking, and immediately taking selfies with Kyle's flowers like they were some kind of romantic gesture she'd orchestrated. What followed was the most surreal dining experience of my life. I sat at the head of the table, supposedly the guest of honor, while Kyle and Susie had what was essentially a reunion dinner with an audience. They shared inside jokes nobody else understood, reminisced about places they'd been together, and discussed people from their shared past like the rest of us weren't even there. Remember that weekend in Napa when it rained? Kyle asked Susie. Oh my God, yes, she laughed. We ended up spending the whole day in that tiny wine bar. You two looked so perfect together in those photos, Rachel chimed in, like she was directing this performance. Maya was taking notes now. Actual notes. Like she was documenting evidence for a case. Styles kicked me under the table and mouthed, "What the actual hell is this?" This wasn't just disrespectful. It was orchestrated humiliation. And I was done being the audience. Dinner dragged on for another hour. Kyle dominated every conversation, positioning himself as the expert on everything from wine pairings to vacation destinations. Susie hung on his every word like he was delivering profound wisdom instead of basic small talk. Rachel documented everything with her phone like she was the official photographer of their reunion. Meanwhile, I sat there watching my girlfriend have a date with her ex at my birthday dinner, while everyone else squirmed in secondhand embarrassment. When the waiter finally brought out the cake with candles, Kyle actually started the happy birthday song, for my birthday, like he was the host of this entire event. Susie put her arm around me for the first time all evening, a gesture so obviously performative that it felt insulting. "Make a wish, babe." I stared at those candles, and everything crystallized. This wasn't just about Kyle being there. This was about a woman who thought she could humiliate me in front of our friends, and I'd just smile and take it. But here's what nobody at that table knew. There was supposed to be a bigger announcement tonight. We'd been engaged for 4 months. I'd been planning to announce our wedding date at this dinner, maybe even raise a toast to our future. Her parents had already put down $15,000 for their half of the venue and catering. My deposit was sitting in escrow. The engagement ring was in my jacket pocket, not because I was planning another proposal, but because I'd been thinking about upgrading it for the announcement. Funny how plans change. I made my wish, blew out the candles, and stood up. "Actually," I announced to the table, "I have an announcement to make. Susie and I won't be getting married after all." You could have heard a pin drop. Susie's face went through about 6 different colors, none of them found in nature. "What are you talking about?" she hissed. "Kyle, since you seem to be running this show tonight, the check's all yours. Thanks for hosting my birthday dinner, man. Oh, and congratulations on whatever this is." Kyle's confident smile evaporated. "What? I can't." "Oh, and Kyle," I continued, pulling out my phone. 5953. That's your access code to my house, right? Spells KYLE on the keypad. Pretty creative. The table erupted. Styles literally shouted, "Oh shit," loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. Maya sat back with a satisfied expression, like she'd been waiting for this moment her entire life. Susie jumped up, panic replacing smugness. "You can't just cancel our wedding." "Watch me. I've got months of security footage of you two having your little reunion tours in my house while I was traveling for work. Consider the engagement officially terminated." Maya stood up too, suddenly in full attorney mode. "Security footage? Oh, this is beautiful." Kyle tried to salvage the situation. "Look, man, it's not what you think. It's exactly what I think. You've been playing house in my actual house while I've been working to pay for her ring. But hey, since you like the place so much, maybe you can start contributing to the mortgage." Rachel's jaw was on the floor. "Wait, you were engaged? When were you going to tell anyone?" "We were going to announce it tonight," I replied, pulling the ring box from my jacket and setting it on the table. "Surprise. Plans change. Kyle's got the dinner check," I continued. "Susie's got her flowers, and I've got some wedding vendors to cancel. Thanks for coming to my birthday, everyone. This has been incredibly educational." Maya grabbed her purse and stood up. "And I've got some fascinating legal insights about adultery and property rights to discuss with my brother later." As I walked toward the exit, I could hear Kyle frantically explaining to the waiter that he'd need to call someone about paying for a $450 dinner, and Susie screaming about how I couldn't unilaterally dissolve an engagement. Styles and Maya followed me outside. Maya was practically glowing. "That," she said, "was the most beautiful public execution I've ever witnessed. Kyle's in there having a breakdown about the check, and your ex-fiancée looks like her entire world just collapsed." My phone was already buzzing with texts from Susie, but I was done. Time for the real show to begin. That night, I did what I should have done months earlier, conducted a full forensic review of my home security system. Styles came over with pizza. Maya showed up with drinks and her legal notepad, because in her words, "This is better than any case I've worked on, and I'm documenting everything." Buck was thrilled to have everyone over. He kept bringing us his toys like this was the world's best party, completely oblivious to the fact that we were about to uncover months of betrayal in high definition. My house has one of our premium security packages. Cameras at every entry point, motion sensors, smart locks with access logs, the whole setup. I'd shown Susie how everything worked when we started getting serious, explained where the cameras were positioned, given her access codes for safety when she stayed over. What I found was worse than I'd imagined. Kyle had been coming over every time I traveled for work, which was usually twice a month for client installations. The security footage showed them arriving together, Kyle using his own access code, 5953. Seriously, Kyle on the keypad, acting like they owned the place. They'd essentially been playing house in my house, using my Netflix account, eating my food, sleeping in my bed, walking my dog. The footage even showed Kyle giving Buck treats, bribing my own dog to like him while he was screwing my girlfriend. "Oh, this is rich," Stiles said, pointing at the screen. "He's wearing your Northwestern hoodie and feeding your dog. The sheer audacity of this man." Maya was furious. "This isn't just adultery, it's criminal trespass. She gave him unauthorized access to your property without your knowledge or consent." Buck, completely unaware that his treat supplier was the villain of this story, was currently destroying a tennis ball and occasionally barking at his own reflection in the TV screen. The access logs told the full story. Kyle's code had been used 17 times over 3 months, always on days when I was out of town, always for extended periods. My smart doorbell had captured him arriving with overnight bags. My interior cameras showed them cooking together, watching movies, acting like a couple in my living room. I immediately revoked all access codes except my own and changed every password in the system. Then I sent Susie a single text message with a screenshot from the security footage. Kyle entering my house with a timestamp from 3 weeks ago when I was installing a system in Denver. Her response was immediate. "We need to talk." My response, a gif of Samuel L. Jackson saying no. Maya reviewed the evidence like she was preparing for trial. Professional advice: don't engage directly, document everything. Let her incriminate herself further. Next, I handled the business relationship. Since I'd installed Susie's company's security system, I sent her boss a professional email explaining that due to a personal conflict of interest, I was assigning a different account manager from my team to handle their service needs going forward. I copied my operations director to make it official business communication rather than personal drama. Translation: your employee has been using our professional relationship to facilitate her personal affair, and I'm no longer comfortable with the arrangement. Then came the masterpiece, my investment property. 3 months earlier, I'd purchased a condo downtown as a rental investment. Pure coincidence that it happened to be in Susie's building. The opportunity came through a business contact. The numbers made sense, and I'd mentioned owning rental property to Susie without specifying the location. My unit was 3F, hers was 3B. Same floor, different lives. A week earlier, my tenant had reported water damage in the bathroom ceiling. I'd asked my property manager, Mark, to schedule a plumber, but the timing hadn't worked out with the tenant's schedule. Until now. "Mark," I texted, "that water damage in 3F needs immediate attention. Could be affecting other units on the floor too." Mark responded immediately. "Already scheduled emergency plumbing for tomorrow morning. Building management will inspect adjacent units as a precaution." Stiles raised his drink in a toast. "To the most poetic coincidence in revenge history." Maya raised her wine glass. "To karma, having a law degree." "It's not revenge," I said. "It's responsible property management." 2 days after the birthday nuclear option, I was at Maya's apartment helping her rearrange furniture when someone started pounding on her door like they were trying to break it down. Maya looked through the peephole and grinned like Christmas morning. "Well, well, your ex-fiancée is here, and she looks completely unhinged." She opened the door to reveal Susie. Mascara streaked, hair disheveled, looking like she hadn't slept since the restaurant incident. "Where is he?" Susie demanded, trying to push past Maya into the apartment. Maya didn't budge. She's 5 feet 8 inches and does CrossFit religiously. Susie bounced off her like a tennis ball hitting a brick wall. "He's not here, but I am, and we're going to have a conversation. I need to talk to him about the wedding. He can't just cancel everything." Maya laughed, the kind of laugh that precedes verbal devastation. "Actually, he can. That's what happens when you cheat. Actions meet consequences. Revolutionary concept, I know." Susie's face flushed red. "You don't understand our relationship. I understand you invited your side piece to his birthday dinner with flowers. I understand you gave him access to my brother's house without permission. I understand you're so entitled, you think adultery comes with severance pay. It's not that simple." "Oh, but it is beautifully simple. You cheated, you got caught, you lost, game over." That's when Susie deployed her signature move, the crying manipulation tactic. "My parents already paid for everything. We're out $15,000. Maya stepped closer, and her voice dropped to that terrifying attorney tone that makes defendants confess to crimes they didn't commit. Maybe your parents should have invested that money in teaching their daughter some character instead of a wedding for a cheater. You're just like him, cold and heartless. Honey, I'm nothing like my brother. He's nice. He gave you years of his life, access to his business connections, and a ring you never deserved. Me? I saw through your performance on day one. I told him you were trouble, but he's too good-hearted to listen to his big sister. You never liked me because you're a user. You used his business expertise, his marketing knowledge, his house for your affair, and his generosity to fund your lifestyle. You're a parasite in designer clothes. Susie was crying harder now, but Maya wasn't finished. You want to know what I really think? I think you're pathetic. You had a good man who loved you, supported your career, and was planning to marry you. And you threw it all away for what? An ex-boyfriend who stuck you with a restaurant check and ghosted you? I made a mistake. No, you made choices. Deliberate, calculated choices over months. You chose to give Kyle access to my brother's house. You chose to plan this humiliation dinner. You chose to prioritize your ex over your fiancé. Now you're choosing to harass his family instead of facing consequences like an adult. I just need to explain. Explain what? How you accidentally fell on Kyle's dick repeatedly while my brother was working to pay for your ring? How you accidentally planned a romantic reunion at his birthday dinner? How you accidentally decided to humiliate the best thing that ever happened to you? I was watching this masterclass in verbal destruction from the kitchen, and I'd never been more proud of my sister. Susie made one last desperate attempt. You don't understand what it's like to have history with someone. Maya's response was devastating. I understand what loyalty means. Clearly you don't. Now get off my property before I call the police for harassment. And next time you want to play victim, remember that security cameras don't lie. 3 days after Maya's demolition of Susie, my phone started ringing like a fire alarm. I was in a client meeting, installing a security system for a tech startup, when the frantic text began. What did you do? There's water everywhere in my apartment. The entire ceiling collapsed. My laptop is destroyed. My furniture is ruined. Call me back now. But the water damage was just the opening act. Between Susie's panicked messages, I was getting a different kind of storm from her family. Her mother called first. How dare you embarrass our family like this? We've already invested in your future together. Her father was more direct. Son, we need to discuss financial compensation for the deposits we've lost due to your impulsive decision. Then Rachel. You humiliated Susie in front of everyone. You owe us money for this disaster. The actual water situation was both more and less dramatic than I'd expected. The plumber discovered a significant leak in the shared wall between my rental unit and Susie's apartment. The pipe had been slowly deteriorating for months, causing hidden water damage behind the walls. When they opened everything up to investigate, all that accumulated water suddenly released, causing extensive damage to both units. The building management declared both apartments temporarily uninhabitable until repairs could be completed. Estimated timeline of 4 to 6 weeks minimum. The water had destroyed Susie's hardwood floors, ruined most of her furniture, and turned her bedroom into what Stiles later described as an expensive indoor swimming pool. While she dealt with her literal flood, I was managing the emotional tsunami from her family. They were demanding I reimburse them for the $15,000 they'd put toward wedding expenses, venue deposit, catering, flowers, the works. Her mother actually used the phrase breach of contract, like we were business partners instead of a couple. You can't just cancel a wedding and expect us to absorb the financial consequences, her father argued over the phone. Actually, I can, I replied calmly. That's exactly how it works when your daughter cheats. Consider it tuition for a very expensive lesson in parenting. When Susie finally called that evening, I answered on the first ring. Where am I supposed to live? She demanded. Like her housing situation was somehow my responsibility. I hear Kyle has a nice place. You seemed comfortable making yourself at home there. My parents want you to reimburse them for the wedding deposits. Your parents can want whatever they like. I wanted a faithful fiancé, but we don't always get what we want. You still owe us money. I don't owe you anything except this conversation ending. Oh, and I'll need that engagement ring back. What ring? She asked, like she didn't know exactly what ring I was talking about. The $8,000 engagement ring currently on your finger. Since we're not getting married, I'll need that returned. This is my ring! You gave it to me! I gave it to my fiancé. You're not my fiancé anymore. Legally, engagement rings are conditional gifts. No marriage, no ring. I'm not giving it back. We'll see about that. I hung up and immediately called my sister. Illinois law is crystal clear about engagement rings. They're conditional gifts that must be returned if the marriage doesn't happen, regardless of who ends the engagement or why. 2 days later, Susie was served with legal papers demanding return of the ring. The beautiful irony? Her parents had to pay for her lawyer because the apartment flood had wiped out her emergency savings. Maya's commentary when I updated her. So let me understand this correctly. She's homeless, being sued for a ring, her parents are out 15 grand, and Kyle ghosted her after sticking him with the dinner bill? This is better than winning the lottery. Meanwhile, Styles had been keeping tabs on the Kyle situation through our mutual friends, and apparently there was much more to that story than any of us had realized. 2 weeks after the water damage incident, I was having coffee with Katya. She'd reached out after hearing about the birthday dinner disaster through our friend network, wanting to check on me and make sure I was handling everything okay. That whole dinner thing sounded absolutely insane, she said. Who brings flowers to their ex at someone else's birthday party? We ended up talking for 3 hours. Katya was everything Susie wasn't. Straightforward, genuinely supportive, and refreshingly honest about relationships. She admitted she'd always thought Susie was self-centered, but had never said anything because I seemed happy. She treated you like an accessory half the time, Katya said, like you were there to make her look good, rather than being an actual partner. We started spending more time together. Nothing romantic initially, just friends reconnecting, and me appreciating what honest communication felt like. Katya was impressed by my business, thought my security setup was genuinely cool, and never once tried to optimize my brand presence. Meanwhile, the legal battle over the ring was proceeding exactly as expected. My lawyer filed a straightforward motion for return of conditional gift, while Susie's attorney had to argue that adultery somehow entitled her to keep an $8,000 ring. The judge was not impressed. Your Honor, her lawyer argued, my client received this ring as a gift with reasonable expectation of marriage. Your Honor, my attorney responded, the defendant had a reasonable expectation of fidelity, which was systematically violated in the plaintiff's own home, as documented by extensive security footage. Case closed. The judge ordered immediate return of the ring plus court costs. Susie's parents ended up paying another $2,500 in legal fees on top of the $15,000 they'd already lost on wedding deposits. Once I got the ring back, I sold it immediately. $8,000 bought me the most incredible gaming setup imaginable. Top-tier graphics card, 4K monitor, premium sound system, the works. Styles and I started having legendary gaming sessions in my home office. Buck usually joined us, sleeping on his bed next to my gaming chair, occasionally waking up to bark at explosion sounds. Best investment you ever made, Styles said during one of our Call of Duty marathons. This is infinitely better than being married to Princess PowerPoint. But the real bomb came from Styles' intelligence network. Our mutual friends who'd been following the Susie-Kyle situation with the fascination of a daytime soap opera. Turns out Kyle wasn't just some commitment-phobic ex-boyfriend. Kyle was married, had been for 2 years. His wife Jennifer worked for an international consulting firm and spent most of the year traveling between offices in different countries. Kyle had been living a complete double life, playing the single guy around town while his wife was overseas. The birthday dinner disaster had triggered a chain reaction nobody saw coming. When Kyle got stuck with that $450 restaurant bill, he had to use the credit card he shared with his wife. Jennifer saw the charge for an expensive dinner for 10 people and called to ask about it. Kyle's explanation didn't add up, so Jennifer did what any suspicious spouse would do. She investigated. She found text messages between Kyle and Susie on their shared phone plan. She discovered photos on his cloud storage. She uncovered hotel receipts and restaurant charges that didn't match his claimed schedule. Jennifer filed for divorce exactly 2 weeks after my birthday dinner. She had enough evidence of adultery to take Kyle for everything he was worth. The divorce was finalized in record time because Illinois still recognizes adultery as grounds for divorce, and Jennifer's evidence was overwhelming. Kyle lost the house, half his assets, and his reputation. His response to losing everything? He completely ghosted Susie, blocked her number, blocked her social media, moved in with a friend, and pretended she didn't exist. Susie, meanwhile, had bounced between temporary living situations. She'd tried staying with Rachel after her apartment flooded, but that lasted exactly 4 days before Rachel kicked her out for creating too much drama. She ended up in an extended stay hotel that was costing almost as much as rent, completely alone and wondering how her life had imploded so spectacularly. Her parents, furious about losing $15,000 and watching their daughter self-destruct, had essentially abandoned her. Her mother actually said, "We raised you better than to throw away a good man for some married loser who won't even return your calls." But the story was far from over. 6 months after my birthday dinner from hell, I married Katya in a small ceremony that cost half of what Susie's wedding would have. Katya's parents were genuinely pleasant people who thought I was a catch. Weird how that works when they've raised a daughter with actual character. Styles was my best man, and his speech was hilarious. To the bride and groom and to security cameras everywhere. May your marriage be as solid as the evidence that ended his last relationship. We even included Buck in the ceremony as our ring bearer. He wore a tiny tuxedo and only got distracted by squirrels twice during his walk down the aisle. The photographer captured some amazing shots of him trying to eat the centerpiece flowers during the reception. The reception was in full swing when I noticed commotion near the entrance. Security was talking to someone who clearly wasn't on the guest list. I looked closer and saw Susie arguing with the staff about needing to speak with me urgently. Maya noticed the disturbance too. Oh, absolutely not. Not today. She started marching toward the situation, but Susie spotted me first and began making her way across the reception hall, drawing stares from everyone. "We need to talk," she called out over the music. "This is extremely important." Katia squeezed my hand. "Want me to handle this?" "No, I've got it, but stay close." Susie finally reached us, clearly out of breath and visibly upset. She was clearly pregnant, about 6 months along, wearing a dress that was trying to hide the pregnancy, but failing completely. "Congratulations," she said with obvious bitterness. "I see you moved on remarkably quickly." "Thanks. You look different. We need to talk privately. Whatever you need to say, you can say it here. Kadia's my wife now." Susie glanced around at all the people watching us, then back at me. "Fine. I'm pregnant. Congratulations. I'm sure Kyle will be thrilled to step up. Kyle won't return my calls. He's completely ghosted me since the divorce. That's unfortunate. What does this have to do with me?" She took a deep breath, and I could see exactly where this was heading. "I need your help. This baby. It might be yours." The entire reception hall fell silent. Maya appeared beside me like she'd teleported. Kadia's grip on my hand tightened. I stared at her for a long moment, processing this absolute insanity. "Susie, you want to do this here? At my wedding? In front of all these people? I didn't know where else to find you. So you decided to crash my wedding with this accusation?" After some back and forth argument that I won't bore you with, I finally said, "You know what? Fine. But before anything, I want a paternity test. DNA doesn't lie." Susie's face went pale. "That's not, I mean, we don't necessarily need to." "Oh, we absolutely need to. If you're so confident this baby might be mine, then you won't have any problem proving it. I just thought maybe you'd want to help." "Help with what? A baby that's not mine? From a woman who cheated on me for months in my own house?" I laughed. "The only thing I'm helping with is proving that you're still the same liar you've always been." Maya was grinning like it was Christmas morning. "I'll have the paperwork ready by morning." Susie started backing away from us. "You're making a huge mistake. When that test comes back, you're going to regret this." Security finally moved in to escort her out, but not before she shouted, "You'll be hearing from me when you realize the truth." The reception continued after she left, but everyone was buzzing about the drama. Our friends couldn't believe the audacity of crashing a wedding with a paternity claim. Styles found me at the bar later. "Dude, that was intense. You really think there's any chance?" I looked across the room at Katya, who was laughing with Maya about something, completely unfazed by the drama. Then I glanced at Buck, who was under a table somewhere eating dropped wedding cake. "We'll find out tomorrow morning," I said. "But either way, I know exactly who my real family is." The paternity test was scheduled for 9 a.m. sharp. Whatever the results showed, my life with Katya was just beginning, and Susie's desperate manipulation was finally going to have a definitive answer. Some birthday wishes really do come true, just not always the way you expect them to. So that's my story, Reddit. The test is scheduled for first thing tomorrow morning, and honestly, I have no idea what to expect. Part of me is confident it's not mine based on timing and her history of lies. But there's this small voice in the back of my head asking, what if? Either way, I've got a rig that melts pixels, a wife who actually respects me, and a dog who still thinks cardboard helmets are fashion. Whatever that test says tomorrow, I've already won. The test will either confirm what I already know or change everything completely. But after everything I've been through, I'm ready for whatever answer comes back. We'll update with results. This has been one hell of a ride.